Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. I'm your host, Yegi, and by the time you're listening to this episode, I am probably on vacation. So with that said, it is so important and a reminder for all of us to take some time for ourselves to really have our downtime and enjoy life. So when we are back, we are fully focused and rested and recharged in order to do our best work. And that has worked well for me in the past. And this is a reminder for you. If you feel like you have so much to do, maybe the right thing to do is take a break and then get back to your long to-do list. So for those of you that are still getting to know me or you're not familiar with my previous work, I've been running my own business for about 7 years now, and it has been one thing after another, really fast paced, from starting a business, growing it, turning it into an academy, doing a whole US tour, and then coming back into the pandemic, switching things around, having 2 kids back to back. So it's been a lot for me. So with that said, I've been on a lot of caffeine, and that is an introduction to our next guest. And that's how you're going to remember his name. He is a father of 5 and is running on caffeine, but it is not stopping him from doing and pursuing his dreams. His podcast is called the Caffeinated Hustle. He is running an e-commerce business called the Wall Street Prince and has started a new project called the Caffeinated Creatures. It is about NFTs and the Web3 and what future investment opportunities we may have. Since I'm not an expert in this area and I still need to do a lot of research to learn more about it, after speaking to him, I'm going to let him educate us and talk to us about what the future may hold as far as the internet, that world. Yeah, I'll let him explain. So let's jump right in. Ben, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Happy to connect here. I can tell you as much or as little as the listeners want to know. You just tell me how far back you want me to go.
Well, tell us what started your entrepreneurial journey to start Caffeinated Labs.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I started, let's go back a bit then. I started doing HVAC out of high school, and I did that for about 7 years, and I started getting an itch. And so a lot of the entrepreneurs that listen to your show probably understand it, like that itch that what you're doing is just not really fulfilling you. And so I thought it was just money. And so I was given an opportunity to get into finance, very different industry, did not have a college degree for it, did college for about a year, decided it wasn't for me, was just connected to the right people. And so I got into finance, did it for 7 years, didn't have a good start because I was coming from a blue collar industry. It really didn't make sense to go into finance. Definitely got hurt starting out. But then we got connected with a 9-figure trader. And he mentored me and he really turned me around. And so I got really good at it. Again, not because of me, just because of who I knew, who I was connected to. And so did that for 7 years and got really burned out. And from there, basically, I wanted to take a break, start up an art project just for my own office. WallStreetPrints.com was born out of it. Basically, traders started seeing my art that I put up for my own office, asked to get it for themselves, and I realized I was starting to help some traders because it was like inspiring. Like the artwork we have is really unique. You can't get anywhere else. And so I realized I enjoy helping people a lot more than just making money. And so I left finance after 7 years, started that company up, and then a couple years into it, my buddy that was the artist for me basically sold some NFTs, made a bunch of money, but he told me about the technology behind it. And I realized for the first time I could actually sell a course and not feel like I was hoodwinking someone. Because when you sell a course, I can sell you a course right now on how to trade stocks, options, or how to do a print-on-demand business. Those 3 courses I could each charge $2,000 for. But then you're out that money forever. So I've spent $25,000 on courses in my own lifetime. I can't get that money back. If I try and sell that on Craigslist, I just look like a bootlegger. I might get $10. It's not going to happen. But with Web3, you can actually sell that technology, that access to someone else, and you're not scamming anyone. And so now
let's back up
that's why
a
I got
little
into
bit.
it. Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit about NFTs, Web2, Web3. What are these things? Because some of us, I've heard the phrases, I know very little bit about it. It is fairly new unless you've been very active knowing about all these new opportunities in business. Some of us are kind of still fuzzy about what they are. Can you please explain it for our listeners and for myself?
Yeah, for sure. Anyone that thinks they're dead, I mean, some people really do think the bubble's already come and gone. So NFTs are just getting started. The big money is just coming into the space. So you got to go back in time. And after the website world crashed and dot-com bubbles burst, you can Google right now, Internet Fad 2001, and you're going to see a lot of articles that say, Internet's a dead, Internet was a fad, everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
And now today it's like, wow, that's pathetic that someone actually wrote that. Like, how embarrassing that that's out there on the internet for everyone else to read. That's what they're saying about NFTs. And so it's going to be the same thing in the future. The technology is here to stay. So basically, an NFT stands for a non-fungible token. And what it is, it's a way to prove you have ownership of something. And so most people just think an NFT is a picture. So like if we screenshot this image right now, it's just an image. If we decided this is an NFT, we could say you only get access to this podcast if you have the NFT. And now you have to prove you actually own this NFT to gain access to the podcast. You can't just show a picture, because the NFTs work through smart contracts. They work through the blockchain technology to the point that you actually verify inside of your wallet whatever you own, and it opens doors. And without that actual digital ownership of that NFT using smart contract technology through blockchain, you don't get access to what you're trying to get. And so that technology is what's truly going to be around pretty much forever moving forward.
Wow, so that is the way to the future, in your opinion. That's
Absolutely.
how things are evolving. So you mentioned Web3. So is that the space that it lives in, or what is Web3?
So Web3 is basically the future, where everything's going. So in Web2, right now, you have a Facebook account, you have a Google account, you have all these different accounts, usernames, passwords, different for everyone. In the future, Web3 is where you have a digital wallet. And so you can get what's called like a MetaMask wallet. You can have all sorts of digital wallets. You should do a Google search on it, kind of learn a little more. Basically, that one wallet can store all of your access, all of your events, all of your anything. So in the future, for example, if your listeners go to a show, if they go to see a concert, that ticket could be an NFT. And instead of just getting the ticket and having to go get your Ticketmaster account or go get your StubHub account, it's in your wallet, and it all just goes in that one point. So instead of having to have 50 different accounts that all can be hacked individually, you have one account that stores everything with the right encryption. It can't be hacked. It can't be taken from you, and you can prove ownership of everything. No one can steal your identity in the future like they can now, because it's the power of the blockchain technology.
Okay, very, very interesting. I like the way you explained that, and I think the technology of it, I would need to do more research on it for me to fully comprehend. That's a great introduction to the NFT and where it's going with Web3 and all of that. So now you do have a project that you're trying to work with or empower entrepreneurs. I think about 3,000 of them for a specific NFT project. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a project called the Caffeinated Creatures. And basically our North Star, if you will, is just we're trying to help entrepreneurs launch and scale with connections, content, and capital. And so I understand the very basics of Web3 technology. I am not a developer. I've got a developer that's probably one of the best on the East Coast, and he's built our entire project from the ground up as far as the technology side. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get an NFT that basically proves access that you are a caffeinated creature, and that gets you into a dashboard we've built basically from the ground up. So it's cost us about $100,000 to build, about 500 hours, and basically it's a fully functional dashboard to where when you get in on day one, you're going to have access to, I don't know, let's say $20,000 worth of content. So we've got some people already making courses for us, like we've got a guy that's helped raise $1 billion for VC funds, and so he's going to make a course for us. And if you want into that, you have to have the pass. And so we're going to enable a lot of entrepreneurs to get access to these really unique courses to help them with business. But then, if you just need a course, you can go to Udemy, you can go to Coursera, you can get a course somewhere else for $20. That can't be the reason you're trying to buy this. And so what's next is that through the power of caffeine, which is our little digital token you can vote on, you can actually go pick the type of content you want. And so you can learn whatever. So if you feel like you need a course on direct response marketing, you can actually vote for that, get it submitted, get it approved, and then we'll go hire somebody to build a course for us, a workshop for us, whatever, put it into the library, and the entire world can see it.
It's more like a community once you're in.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would need a little bit more information about how, for somebody who's buying into the NFT, and what you said some of the benefits is the courses, the community. You guys also work as a team to support future needs of the entrepreneurs. So with that, how is the NFT side of it really doing the business and making money? So since it's a new world for entrepreneurs, I think that'll be interesting to understand for us.
Yeah. So NFTs are kind of similar to Kickstarter funds, so you put a project out there, and if you mint out, so for ours example, we're going to have like 2,200, and we're minting high because we're going to put a lot of it back into building content or actually funding people to do things. And so you sell upfront your NFTs at what's called a mint price. And so for us, we're going to try and raise like $2 million if we mint out. And then those funds will pay the team for the last year of working pretty much on the project, building out the cost of the dashboard, the cost of the marketing, everything else. And then those funds go into the project to help build it out. And so for most projects, it's kind of basic. It's like you're going to buy this NFT that gets you a cool JPEG, or gets you like a free bottle of rum, or gets you like a special trip once a year. Like, it's very, very basic. We're the only project that's trying to do something really unique, because one of the big things we're going to do is fund entrepreneurs to build a business, but not take a stake in the ownership. We're going to give them the money if they document the journey. And so that instead of trying to get ownership, we're trying to get content so we can put it on our library, but we're going to allow other entrepreneurs to see how they did it, so that no one has an excuse. Because it's great to see our podcast, because we're starting to do well. But if you want to start a podcast from zero, how do you actually start from zero? It's hard to just see someone established and try and copy them, because there's so many steps you miss. So if you have someone that's documenting that journey, that gives you no more excuses, because you've seen someone else do it. Now you can do it too. But whatever reason,
it's almost like building a pathway and an exact step by step of somebody who's already been successful in your area, and you just follow that process compared to rebuilding the wheel. It's almost
absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like a guide, and that sounds great to me, because we can learn from other people's mistakes compared to making our own along the way, and we can be successful a lot quicker. Now, you did mention earlier when we were emailing some struggles with starting and running a business. For our listeners, since most of them are entrepreneurs or want to be there, can you share some of your struggles with the process of starting and where you ended up today?
Oh, that's a laundry list right there. Biggest one that comes to mind is time. I think it's really hard because, I'm not sure where your listeners all come from, but if you have TikTok, if you have Instagram Reels, you can just see success everywhere. And so with that, if you don't like a video you're watching on TikTok, for example, you swipe. I mean, the retention rate's like 3 seconds. So how are you supposed to build a business that takes you 12 months to get off the ground to really get successful if you won't even watch a video for 10 seconds? The attention span is terrible now. And so the biggest thing I struggled with was trying to build a business, and I built a couple now, but trying to give it the time it needs, because I get so impatient it's not working, or so frustrated on a bad day. I'm like, maybe I should just shut it down. Like, you would never tell your kid not to walk. Like, all right, you had enough time, you didn't figure it out. Like, I guess you're just not walking. You're going to figure it out. But as an entrepreneur, we're like, all right, it's got to work by February 1st, or I've wasted my last 6 weeks. I'll do something else. Like, that's crazy to think how fast we're going to flip a switch and be done.
No, definitely. That's one thing I always advise everybody I work with too, is you got to stick it out. When something's not working, it's almost like a test that, am I strong enough? Am I the right person in order to get this goal, this dream, this business off the ground? And if you stick it out and get through these struggles, then that's when you're going to be successful. But literally, it's a test. That's how I put it. It's a test to make you stronger, to make sure that you're going to have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. So yes, definitely that part of just thinking that, okay, is this where I stop or do I push through? That decision when you're at that space is, I think, very, very difficult to make. But I think this is a reminder for all our listeners that if you are in that space, just as a reminder that you have to push through in order to get to the other side, because every single entrepreneur has multiple roadblocks where they question and they doubt that, hey, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I guess we do need to look back and really remind ourselves of our purpose, of why we're doing this to get us through it. Is there anything else that kind of kept you going during those times of hardship?
I mean, I'm a big believer in growth mindset. So you basically, Carol Dweck wrote an awesome book on this, but basically you have growth mindset and fixed mindset. And so, it comes back to the, like we said about our toddlers walking. A growth mindset is they're going to fail until they figure it out. A fixed mindset is, if you can't do something well, it's just not meant to be and you're going to move on and find something else. Well, the problem with that is that sometimes you never know how far you're really going to be able to go because you cut yourself off at the knees every chance you find. Like looking for failure to validate why you're bad at something is a terrible way to live life, because you're always going to find failure. You're always going to find a reason you should stop and someone else is better than you. And so growth mindset has really helped a lot, because I'm still not where I want to be. Like this project's huge, and if it doesn't work out, like it doesn't work out. But like I've taken such a massive shot, and I'm okay with that because I've done everything I could do, and the outcome doesn't really matter. Like a growth mindset says, even if this entire project fails, and I spend a year of my life on it and a lot of money on it, and it's fine because I learned a lot, I've connected a lot, and I can pivot from that. But a fixed mindset would say, what a failure. You should never do anything else because you took your big shot and you failed. Like you have to have a growth mindset as an entrepreneur, or you will never make it as far as you should.
Yes, definitely. And we have a lot of people always referring to it as a positive mindset, but I like hearing that word, the growth mindsets, because it really reminds us that no matter what we're doing is helping us grow. And one other thing that I've kind of adopted to with that mindset is that if we really want a project or a business to be successful, we cannot accept failure as an option. We don't even think about that. Like you said, if something's not working out, we just reassess and we pivot instead of fully thinking, hey, this is a failure. And it's okay to pivot or change our ways with the project. It's not going to be considered a failure if you're pivoting. I don't know if I'm phrasing that right, but
no, I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
That makes sense out loud than as it sounds in my head.
that made perfect sense. And I want to feed off that a little bit, because like the podcast I built it for the project to basically prove we had connections, but it's taken on a life of its own, where even if the project doesn't work out for some reason, the podcast is still there. When I did
magical.
I think
the project is going to work out. So tell us more. Tell us more about the podcast. You had some awesome guests on there. Tell us more.
Yeah, so anyone that wants to start a podcast, it's a labor of love. It turns out, like I don't know how to, like if I could do anything differently, if I had more time, we were talking before the show, I've got 5 kids, wife, a couple businesses. I don't have time. So like I'm just going to pay. Like you either have time or you have money. You don't have both. And so I just have to pay all my editing and everything else. And so it gets really expensive to do a podcast, because I have a virtual assistant that makes outreach. I have a video editor. I have an audio editor. It costs me about $300 an episode, and I do 3 a week. So I'm basically spending almost $4,000 a month on this podcast, and I have no net positive returns. But the connections I've made, you got to be patient, But the connections I've made, I know for a fact. I have 4 other businesses in my head right now that I've interviewed people that are very possible to do in 6 months or less. That either I'll do inside my project after it mints, or if it doesn't, I have a fallback. Like I know for a fact there's something new I want to do, and I've made that connection through the podcast. It's worth it, but it takes a long time. Like the 12-month thing. Like I'm on month 4, and there's no scenario you can stop this before a year. It's too much effort. Either give it a year, or don't start at all.
Yes, I mean, if I like to believe too, if I'm investing time and money into something, then I'm probably gonna keep going. If I don't invest time and money, especially the money aspect of it, it's less likely that we're gonna really stick to what we're doing. It's really like with any event, people that get anything for free, they don't appreciate it or they don't nurture it as much. So I'm a big believer of investing in what I'm working on too. And same for me, I have a couple of, things businesses that are on my plate. So the podcast is really for fun. I'm also trying to kind of pivot in a different area. So this is also a big, I guess, investment in time and money for myself. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, but it does open so many doors, so many opportunities that you don't know of. And earlier I was kind of talking to one of my colleagues. I'm like, this is a reminder for myself and for everybody else in the business world that we're exactly where we need to be right now in order to get to where we need to get. Like, that's just one thing we need to keep reminding ourselves, because it really is a process. But the key aspect of it is, like you said, when you have that feeling of you're not doing something that you should be doing, and then you pivot to what you are actually happy doing day to day, that's when you're gonna make it. You just have to stick it out. But
true.
yeah,
Especially on the hard days.
yeah, especially on the sleepless days. We did talk a little bit about having kids and family life that gets in the way, and that's so natural, and that's interesting. He did share with me that that's where his business names come from, Caffeinated. He does need lots of caffeine in order to get through with sleepless nights and kids. And, that reminds me to share with everybody too, it's no excuse. A lot of times I feel like as humans, as people, we find excuses for why we can't follow our goals or dreams. And it could be the kids are not letting me, the house is too loud, I haven't gotten enough sleep, I don't have time to, look presentable to hop on the podcast. But I really realized that all of that is an excuse, and we just need to really find a way and make time for the things that are important to us. And Ben was very kind to share his way of outsourcing, and I think that's an entrepreneurial mind. We do need to also be okay with not controlling all of every single part of our business or what we're doing. It is okay to let go of parts and get help from employees or friends or family or whoever you can get help from. Now, how has that been? How has it been trying to find the team of people to really structure kind of your business or businesses in order to be able to get everything done successfully? Because that's a struggle for me always.
That was a tough one. So I've spent a lot on Fiverr and Upwork. I love those two places for finding talent, US or abroad. And then the team was, I don't know, just in general, it's a lot of trial and error. Like, for anyone that needs to hire a VA, virtual assistant, whatever you need to do, if you can afford it, you should hire 3, because you don't.
What do you do? What do your virtual assistants help you with?
So I've got one virtual assistant right now for the podcast, and she only exclusively does outreach. So trying to get on guest speakers. And so I did that because I tried myself at first, and I think I got 30.
There's no way. There isn't enough time.
I got like 30 no's in a row, and then I hired her on because I'd used her in the past, and we wrote the script together, and she got us someone the first day. And I was like, I'm just terrible at outreach. Why would I do? So you got to never double down on your weaknesses. That is that's what you're supposed to do in school, where you got to improve your D's and not focus on your A's. Like, in business, you need to double down on your strengths and get someone else to handle your weaknesses, because it is not, outreach is not me.
Advice. That is something I learned later in my entrepreneurial career. I wish I knew earlier is, yes, whatever your weaknesses are, hire somebody to help you with it and focus on your strengths.
Leave ego at the door, and you'll be fine. Just double down on everything you're strong at and cut everything else out. Let somebody else do it for you.
Yes. Awesome. Do you have any other advice for our entrepreneurs who are listening in regards to, I guess, investing and looking out in the future for opportunities, if it's in the NFT world or anything else from your experience, since you've also been in finance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's a difficult one. Let's just start with finance, in general. Never take advice from someone that's trying to sell you something. There's a lot of people in finance that, like, I literally got hit up a couple days ago by someone I pseudo know, and they said they have a buddy that made $1.5 million 2 weeks ago trading, but now they're going to do a webinar to teach you how to do it for free. Never buy any educational information from someone that's trying to do trade calling. If they're that good, like, there's a reason I never sold anything while I was trading. If you're good enough, you're trading. You're not selling services to someone else. If you're doing that, you're not a trader, you're an influencer. And that's fine, but do not take financial advice from someone that's trying to just sell you the dream, because as soon, like, they could be paper trading, they could just use your funds as part of their marketing. You'll never get ahead following someone else doing financial. But in general, I really do think the Web3 technology is here to stay. And I'm by no means an expert in this. Gary
I wrote it down. I'm going to go do so much research on Web3 right now.
I mean, right now we're in a terrible bear market, and plenty of people called this Tulip Mania 2.0. That's fine. Good for them. You got to pick your hill you're going to die on. But you got to look where the money's at. So eBay just bought a marketplace for NFTs, for the Web3 future. The big companies like Nike, Adidas, you just saw, I want to say Tiffany and Company. Tiffany just got into the space and are giving CryptoPunks special medallions worth like $60,000 each, and they're only offering a couple hundred of them. The big money's just showing up. So the bloggers out there, the financial pundits, they all say this was a total bubble. This was a total collapse. Tulip Mania 2.0. That's fine, but the big money says we're coming into the space. So which do you believe? Do you believe the bloggers or do you believe the money? You gotta look where the money's going, not look where whatever they're saying online. That doesn't matter. Look where the money's going, and the money's coming into Web3.
Yeah, and for me, I always like to be open to the possibilities of the future, because literally my mom, she's not that old. She couldn't imagine FaceTiming, like seeing somebody through the phone. And imagine because we immigrated from Armenia, so her being in Armenia and her sisters and mother being in America, being on the phone, seeing their face was a dream. It was like it couldn't cross their mind that, this was going to be possible one day. And then, look at where we are now. There's so much we can do with technology and FaceTime, right? Seeing people all over the world, different time zones. So I'm always open to being a visionary about the future and the power of technology and science. It is crazy when you really do research and see what is out there that nobody's even really talking about. So for that reason, and I'm kind of skeptical too with new things, but I'm open to it. But for that reason, part of me, my gut feelings tell me, I need to really look into this and really consider it. So I'm very glad we have you on our podcast and we're talking about it, because I'm sure it can help a lot of visionaries consider it if they were not, because like you said, with time too, we're busy. Sometimes we just kind of have our tunnel vision and only are focusing on what we're currently doing and not what the future might be holding. So
absolutely.
My research is going to be on, and that's what I advise all our listeners. So contact Ben if you need help, but also make sure you're subscribed to his podcast and his social media. We'll link everything below. But yeah, research on Web3, NFTs, and also where the bigger companies, who is already getting into that space or where's the talk at with that. I think that would be a good foundation for all of us to do our research on, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, everyone's got an opinion. Everyone has this free opinion they want to freely share, thinking it's valuable. But just where's the money going? The money is coming into the space, so you can't ignore where the big money's going. And Meta aside, Facebook aside, let's focus on the other companies that are actually spending a lot of their own money, and why are they doing that? And it's because this is going to be the future, whether we want it to be or not. It's going to be part of the future.
Well, going back to just business advice based on your experience, I wanted to know, what do you think about how do you consider where you reinvest your money in business? So you do have a couple of businesses, and a lot of times we hear reinvest your money in your own business, reinvest your money in your business. It is it's common sense to do that, to grow your business, but at the same time, being an entrepreneur, it's also very tempting to change your lifestyle and start spending the money instead of reinvesting it in your business. What has your experience been with that, and what advice would you give to our listeners? Because it looks like you've been reinvesting in different projects and businesses. So I would really like to know what you think.
Yeah, so it really comes down to your timeline. I, for one, really don't like. I have a very jaded history with the market because I did it for so long, and I understand what you're doing for retirement, what you're doing for the long term. It's really very just passive. And so, if you have a bunch of money and you want to be passive, I mean, that really comes down to what do you want to do. If you just want to sit on your money and go sip on a drink on a beach somewhere and just collect some money, put your money in the market. Let someone else handle it for you that takes 1% that can handle it, or learn about it yourself through like BlackRock, something like that. But financial investing is where you want to put your money if you don't really want to mess with it anymore. I'm not a real estate guy. If I was into real estate, I'd probably maybe say there. But I'm just a business guy. I like to start businesses. And so most of my funds from trading, I used to help start Wall Street Prints. I used some of the funds from that to help start up the podcast, and I used some of the funds to help start up the project. So, for example, I put I'm almost $60,000 into this project already on Caffeinated Creatures. I just took that money from profits from another business, and so I reinvest my money into other businesses because I've got 5 kids. My goal is by the time my 5 kids are old enough, if they want, I'd have a business for each of them. That's what I want to do. And I like to do it because the internet
drives you. Because we also I feel like as entrepreneurs, we also need like that main driver or purpose to kind of keep pushing through, or why we want to be successful. So what's your main driver? Is it to have the better future for your kids, or is it just the art of business?
It's definitely for the kids. It's for the fact that I want my wife and kids to not have to. Like I didn't have a hard life. I didn't have an easy life. My mom worked 3 jobs. My dad wasn't able to work. I don't want that for my kids. I want my kids to have opportunities and possibilities that I didn't have. And I will never have a Lambo. I never care about the cars or the fancy watches. I have an Apple Watch typically. Like
very practical.
I mean, yeah, like that's not where I would spend my money. Like I just want to put money in more businesses. And down the road, if I go to sell one of them, I've had people on my podcast that talk about selling a business, and you kind of just, if you want to sell your business, you're just building up to that point. And if not, the internet's really powerful. Like I have 2 businesses going, and one already in my head that I might be able to do later on. And it's not that hard because with VAs, with contractors, with employees, like you can do a lot more things today than we ever could have 15, 20 years ago. And so it's not that hard to have multiple businesses, multiple income streams. And I'm not trying to do it to sell courses or to do something like influencer online, trying to flex some sort of style to get something else. I just want to do it because I want to have a business for each of my kids by the time they're old enough to want to do it, if they want to. And if not, then, I can always sell it down the road. But I personally go back into business. Definitely can go in the markets, real estate, all sorts of other stuff, though. Find a way to make your money work for you long term. That's what matters.
So now you are you did start a whole new project, the Caffeinated Creatures. This is the NFT that we're talking about, the space that's the future. Now, why did you go that route versus taking all your knowledge and information and starting kind of like a course program or a mentorship program where you can more easily kind of get return on your investment compared to starting something totally new and complicated?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question right there. I mean, that's
why.
I mean, because I've got 7 core people on my team. I've probably got 14 if you go everyone. I think I've got 15 contracts out there, 14 contracts out there where everyone's going to get paid after we mint. I've got content creators from all different walks of life, and it's a massive undertaking. And I really could have just made a lot more money if I just would have sold a course. But I could have sold a course when I was trading. I could have sold a course when I took Wall Street Prints to 6 figures in less than a year. Like I could have done it multiple ways, but I've never felt good about taking advantage of someone else. I've never felt like if I sell someone a course for $2,000 and they get $2,000 of value, then they're just stuck. Then it just goes to zero because they can't resell it. They can't do anything with it. They're stuck with it.
But then they get the knowledge and information. So I'm going to be devil's advocate a little bit because I love taking courses for my knowledge too. And we have some courses ourselves in the beauty industry. So I don't think that the right course takes not advantage, I guess. You're saying they're not getting as much value. let me rephrase that. I think what you're trying to say is they can get more value with the NFT versus them not getting enough value with just a course. Is that correct? Because for me, it's like a course can really also add a lot of value if it's action driven and if it's a skill that we're, tuning and I don't know, fine tuning and teaching and then telling them action items that they can take in order to get to where they want to get. As long as it is not taking advantage and just throwing a bunch of information out there and false hopes and dreams.
Yeah, it's a good question. It comes down to your experiences in it. Like, I've spent over $25,000 in courses myself. I completely agree that some courses are very well worth it. What's a problem is that you can type in anything, make money online. You're going to pop up a course right now. You're going to see this ClickFunnels thing that's going to pop up. And you're going to see this, it's $9,997. And then we're going to slash those prices down to $19.97 for today only because it's a special deal just for you. Like, there's just sleazy stuff everywhere. And how do you tell what's good and what's not? Because the only way you find out is if you buy the course, and then you're out the money. If it's a bad course, you can't get a refund.
Okay,
or
that makes more sense.
If it is, you spend the money and then you don't have enough money to do anything else, because the courses for us are just part of it. Because like I said, you can go to Udemy and go buy any course for $14.99 or less. Like, if it's just a course, like, for one, why is some courses $2,000? Why are some courses $20? It comes down to how well you can sell it. And then two, what do you do with that knowledge? If you spent all your money on the course, you have no other access. And so we're building courses, but our biggest thing is we're going to be building documentaries of how to do it. We're going to fund people how to do it. So we have 2 people lined up, for example.
Oh, yes. So that's the part that, although I understood, but I guess it wasn't too clear for me, is you're not saying that you don't believe in the course. It's just the structure of it, how it's going to be more action driven through the NFT. That's what you're working on with the project.
Yeah, because you can sell it when you're done and you can get your money back. So for one, you can try the courses out, and if you don't like it, you can walk away. But two, we're building a documentary series. So we have people lined up already to do FBA and software as a service. And both those people have the ability to get people to $100,000 a year. And so we're going to fund people from the community fully to where they're coached by these people. They have all the startup money they need, and they're going to do it. And so then we're going to find out, for one, are they fake? Two, if they're real, what's stopping someone else from doing it? And my goal is, within the first year of doing this, we're going to have 12 of these docu-series going to where there's no excuse for anyone not to be able to buy this thing and say, all right, I have 12 different ways I can make $100,000 a year. Which one do I want to do? And it's all proven because it's documented community members that have done it. So it's no longer just theory or a sales tactic. We're providing value in a way that's never been done before, because our only goal is to help entrepreneurs succeed, because we'll get paid in the process, for one. But two, it opens up all the opportunities, because when you do that, your floor price will rise. And so the value of this project will become exponentially higher, where we're going to make plenty of money in the process, but we're going to help a lot more people. Like I said, if it was just about money, it was just like trading. I could have traded forever. I just got burned out because it was just about money. I made $5,000 in 15 minutes. I would be drinking by noon some days. Highs and lows of trading are terrible. It's just about money. It's not enough. So for me, I want to make good money, but I want to help people. And so this is how I can help people in a way I couldn't do that if I just sold a course. I couldn't just put all the money back in, because there's no way to get the money back later. This Web3 technology lets me do this.
So follow-up question for me, for someone, who's an entrepreneur. The only one one concern I would have is the competition. So how, I'm not a big believer of worrying about a competition. I believe everybody kind of finds their space within their industry and have enough abundance to have business for their customer base. But as far as giving somebody the exact structure to follow for an exact business of how to make an X amount of money, what are your thoughts or research or concerns about the competition it might create? Because then in that case, it almost becomes like, okay, if I have the money to buy this, it's almost like I'm guaranteed to make that X amount of money, right? That's kind of not guaranteed, but very highly likely to get there. So have you guys thought about that aspect of it, or you're just gonna kind of have to see how it works out?
I mean, so like for Amazon, for example, like you find a winning product, there's software out there that shows the winning products, and it's pretty easy to get copied. For print on demand, the designs, you just tweak a couple things. Like anything in e-commerce space gets copied when it starts to work. And so we're just not going to worry about that too much, because it happens already. We're just going to put the community together in such a way that again, with the blockchain technology, we can see who's doing what to a point. And then if we see it, we'll call it out. We'll try and figure out the member, and we'll tell them, hey, this isn't going to work for us. And if we have to, we can maybe buy them out or put them in a probation period. I don't know. But I'm not too worried about copying because we're funding them to do it. So here's the thing. We're going to teach people how to do it through the courses. And if they have enough money, they do it themselves. The documentaries are only if they don't have the funds themselves. So if they buy this thing and they want to start this business, but it costs them $4,000 to get the product to Amazon, and they don't have that, we can pay them the $4,000 on their behalf in return for them making the content. So they're willing to get copied because it's opening the door for them to do it without taking another financial risk that they don't have. So no one's being forced to be documented. It's only if they don't have the funds to start the business themselves. And then it's a win-win because we get content and they get a business.
I like that strategy. That's very good. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you today. Is there any last word of advice for our listeners or words of encouragement?
Whatever you're going to do, slap on a little more time and a little more money for your budget and be willing to stick with it past the fun, because anything new is fun for a good while. And then it's no longer fun. And it's just, if you really want to do it, you'll find a way. If not, you'll burn out.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for coming on our podcast. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I've definitely learned so much more about Web3, NFTs, and also your mentality on the future and how businesses are going to be kind of run, in my opinion. So I am very, very excited to share this episode with our listeners. We'll link all your information below, and hopefully we will be able to connect and work together in the future.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.